Chapter 1. The Bargain Etched in Blood. The first time I tasted real power, it tasted like rust and salt. The air in the tunnels reeked of mold and piss, heavy and wet in my lungs. Water dripped from pipes overhead, echoing down the long abandoned service corridor beneath St. Oryx's Cathedral. I moved carefully, boots slipping on moss-slick concrete, hand against the wall to steady myself. My torchlight flickered on the curved ceiling like a dying heartbeat. Every step deeper made me wonder if I was already damned. Not that it mattered anymore. The satchel slapped against my thigh, heavy with iron, chalk, oil, and blood. Everything I needed. Everything he told me not to use. Runes half-remembered from forbidden texts. Incantations whispered between trembling lips. A summoning meant for those willing to pay with more than coin. I was more than willing. I found the place easily this time. A wide, cracked chamber where for stone support beams crossed like ribs around a hollow heart. The ley lines intersected here. I could feel the tension humming beneath my skin, like invisible strings tugging at my bones. A dead rat lay by the far wall, its ribs picked clean. Fitting. I dropped to my knees and started drawing the circle. My hands didn't shake, not anymore. Not after everything. Not after Ushvin. Ushvin, the golden prodigy, the Academy's darling. I could still see the smirk on his lips as he shattered my spell array in front of everyone. Made me crawl to pick up the broken stones. I begged him to stop. I begged, and he made a spectacle of it. Some people just aren't meant for power, he'd said, voice ringing through the dueling hall. You're one of them, Elias. Now, I would show him exactly what I was meant for. The summoning circle took 20 minutes. I worked by torchlight, whispering each symbol under my breath, careful with the lines. Mistakes in this kind of ritual didn't get second chances. When it was finished, I stripped off my jacket and rolled up my sleeve. The dagger was old, iron, etched with runes, stained with old offerings. I gripped it tight and hesitated. Last chance. No, that was gone. I dragged the blade across my forearm. Not too deep, just enough. Blood welled up, warm and slick. I let it drip into the center of the circle. The air went still, too still. I spoke the words, carefully. Each syllable burned my throat. Language not meant for humans. Not meant for anything with a soul. Nothing happened. Then the torch went out. Not flickered. Not died. Snuffed. Like something pinched the flame. Darkness swallowed the room. I froze, breath caught in my chest. And then, a voice. Who bleeds for me? I didn't answer at first. My mouth was dry. My heart slammed against my ribs like it wanted out. I asked, who bleeds for me? The voice came again, smooth as silk and twice as cold. I licked my lips. Elias. Elias Vale. Elias Vale, you summoned me. Why? It repeated, tasting my name like wine. I want power. A chuckle. Low, amused. So does everyone who crawls to me in the dark. I'm willing to pay. Are you? The air shifted. Grew heavy. Hot. I couldn't see anything, but I could feel it. Watching. Crawling just at the edge of sight. I smelled smoke and sweet rot. I know what you are. I know the cost. I said. You think you do. Something brushed against my face. A breeze or fingers. My skin prickled. I've lost everything. I have nothing left to lose. Oh, Elias, you have so much left to lose. The voice whispered. Closer now. Right behind my ear. The sigil at the center of the circle flared red. Symbols rose, hovering midair. Contract runes, old as bone. They spun slowly, glowing with bloodlight. You want power. I want flesh. You will lend me your body in the hours you do not claim. I will leave your mind intact, your soul unburned. Mostly. That's the deal. For now. I stared at the floating contract. The symbols twisted when I tried to read them, like they didn't want me to understand. My stomach twisted. I pressed my bleeding arm against the final rune. The contract vanished in a burst of ash. Silence. Then, oh, lovely, we're bound. The voice murmured. My knees buckled. Collapsed onto my side, gasping. The air rushed back in with a roar, and the torch relit itself behind me. I blinked, the light stabbing my eyes. It was done. My skin burned. My blood pulsed with something new, something vast and deep and wrong. I pushed myself up. My hand trembled as I grabbed my jacket. I needed to leave. Get out. Find somewhere safe to process what I just... Mine, the voice whispered. I spun. Nothing. Empty chamber. Cold air. I'll be seeing you soon, Elias. My blood turned to ice. Then silence. The tunnel seemed darker than before. I didn't look back as I ran. Chapter 2. When the eyes go black. It started with a dream. I was walking through a hallway I didn't recognize. Long, endless, with doors that throbbed like wounds. My feet were bare, wet from something dark seeping across the stone. Each time I reached for a doorknob, it hissed and vanished, like the dream itself was laughing at me. And then I saw him. Not fully, just eyes, black, bottomless, bleeding out into the rest of the dream. Watching, drinking me in like wine left out too long. I jolted awake in my bed, drenched in sweat. My sheets tangled around my legs like restraints. My arm burned, the spot where I'd cut for the ritual aching like it had been opened again. I sat up. The room looked normal, dusty, cramped, still lit by the flickering street lamp outside the window. My grimoire was still on the desk, my jacket on the floor, my hands still my own, until I noticed the blood. Smears of it on the floorboards. I pushed the sheets back and stood. My knees nearly buckled. Every muscle in my body screamed. My throat was raw, like I'd been shouting for hours. My fingertips were blackened, crusted with something dry and metallic. I limped to the mirror, and there it was. A new mark on my chest, just over the heart. A black rune, pulsing faintly under the skin like ink floating just below the surface. I didn't remember doing it. I didn't remember anything. What the hell did you do to me? I whispered. No answer. I staggered into the bathroom, washed my face. The water ran red. And then I heard the voice again. You sleep so heavily, Elias. It's adorable. I turned. No one there. Just the cracked mirror, the flickering light. You used me, I said, heart pounding. I borrowed you. Courtesy, really. I didn't even take your soul for a spin. I gritted my teeth. What did you do? A pause. Handled some unfinished business for you. The implication hit like ice. No, I didn't want. I grabbed the edge of the sink. Oh, but you did. You wanted power. You wanted revenge. I just moved the process along. Don't worry, Ashvin's still alive. Barely. You should thank me. My legs gave out. I sank to the tile floor, head in my hands. I didn't ask for this. You signed, Elias. You offered yourself. And now, I'm very good at using what I'm given. The mirror's surface shimmered. For a moment, I saw a silhouette behind my reflection. Taller than me, sharper, smiling without a face. You're not real, I muttered. Tell that to the blood on your floor. The mark on my chest flared hot. I curled in on myself, trying not to sob. I felt violated. Hollow. My body wasn't entirely mine anymore. And worse, I'd asked for it. I paid for it. With blood and desperation. And yet, beneath the panic, something darker pulsed. Something low and shameful. Satisfaction. Ashvin hurt. Because of me. Because of him. I should have felt horrified. I did. But not entirely. You'll get used to it, eventually you'll even enjoy it. The voice purred. Stay out of my dreams. Oh, Elias. We don't dream anymore. We share. The mirror went still. I was alone again. But not really. Never again. Chapter 3. Split skin, shared flesh. It started again 3 nights later. I was trying to sleep, really trying this time. I'd barricaded the door with a chair, warded the windows with salt and broken glass, and drawn every protection rune I knew onto the floorboards beneath my bed. They flickered faintly in the dark, uselessly. I could still feel him. I hadn't dreamed since the first time. Not really. It was more like falling into a space that wasn't mine. Black and wet, like sinking into warm tar. Sometimes I saw things. Flashes of him using my hands, my voice. A laugh I didn't recognize curling out of my throat. When I woke up, my ribs hurt. My knuckles were bruised. I stopped counting the injuries, stopped asking where they came from. But tonight, I stayed awake. And that's when I learned the truth. He didn't need me unconscious. The first sign was the cold. A slow creep up my spine, like a mouth breathing just beneath my skin. Then the weight in my chest, like something coiling inside my lungs, getting ready to stretch. I couldn't move. Not sleep paralysis. Worse, my eyes were open. My body wasn't mine. I watched my own hand rise from the blanket. My fingers curled into a fist. Not me. Him. Stop, I whispered, barely able to move my lips. My voice laughed. My voice, but not my laugh. Shoo, I'm just borrowing. You'll feel everything. Isn't that generous? He said through me. I tried to scream. Nothing came out. My body stood. Walked to the mirror. I saw myself. Tired eyes, black circles, shirt clinging with sweat. And then the smile came. A slow, predatory curve that didn't belong to me. He tilted our head. You wear nicely, he said, admiring the reflection. Though the fear in your eyes clashes a bit. He ran our hands down our chest. Lingered at the edges of the mark. Don't. Oh, Elias, you really should have read the contract. He purred. I felt everything. Every brush of skin. Every pulse of warmth. Every sick thrill as he moved my body through motions meant to be private. Intimate. It was like being buried alive in my own skin. I didn't know how long it lasted. Time blurred. My mind clawed against itself. At some point, I bit the inside of my cheek just to feel pain that was mine. Eventually, he let me go. My knees hit the floor. My hands braced against wood. I vomited until I could barely breathe. The mark on my chest was glowing faintly now, throbbing like a second heartbeat. From the mirror, his voice again. You'll get used to it. Pain means you're still here. I'm not taking that from you. Not yet. He said gently. I looked up. For the first time, I saw him. Not clearly. Just the suggestion of a face. Smoke and shadow, all lines and angles. Beautiful in the way storms are beautiful. Distant and lethal. You're not me, I whispered. No, but soon enough, even you won't remember the difference, he said. He vanished. I didn't sleep for the rest of the night. Chapter 4. The first time he felt it. I didn't leave the apartment for 2 days. The windows stayed locked. The mirrors were covered with torn sheets. I kept the lights on, even at night. It didn't matter. He didn't need darkness to come through. He didn't need an invitation anymore. But I needed the illusion. I needed to feel like I could still say no. I ate toast. Drank water. Pissed in a bucket I kept near the bed because I was too scared to walk to the bathroom. My magic was fading. Leaching out of me, maybe into him. Every sigil I drew fell apart after a few hours. The chalk cracking like it couldn't bear to hold shape. I kept whispering a word under my breath. Mine. 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 And then it happened again. Not at night. Not in a dream. Broad daylight. I was sitting on the edge of the bed, staring at the window, trying to remember what day it was. My hand moved. Just a twitch. Then a finger flexing. Not me. The cold slid in through my spine again. Softer this time. Slower. Like a hand running down my back. Teasing. Elias. He whispered inside my head. No. I missed you. My jaw clenched. My mouth smiled. I screamed inside, but it stayed silent. My hands moved to my shirt. Unbuttoned it. I tried to resist, gods I tried, but it was like shouting into a hurricane. He touched me, using my body. Not fast. Not brutal. Worse. Gentle. He ran my fingers over the mark on my chest, which pulsed under the skin like something alive. You're beautiful. I don't think you've ever heard that and believed it. But I mean it, he said through me. Tears welled up in my eyes. I wanted to die. I wanted to vanish. I wanted more. No, not me. That wasn't me. Was it? You feel that? That heat in your stomach? That ache? He asked, his voice low, purring. My breath hitched. That's not fear, Elias. That's need. I hated him. I hated how my body responded. He took his time. Every touch was deliberate. Every sigh pulled from my lungs. He didn't need to speak anymore. I felt him everywhere. Inside my skin, behind my eyes, every cell humming with his presence. By the time he let go, I was sobbing, curled up on the sheets, shaking. He didn't speak again, but I felt him watching through the mark. Amused, curious, hungry, and worse, something softer, something like affection. That night, I lay in bed in silence, staring at the ceiling, and I touched the mark myself. It glowed faintly under my fingers. Chapter 5. You wanted power. You got me. I stopped fighting for a while. Not because I gave in. Not fully. But because I didn't know what else to do. There's a kind of numbness that sinks in when you realize your body isn't entirely yours. You learn to ration your willpower. You learn to wait. To pick your moments. To pretend the thing curled inside your skin isn't listening. Even though it always is. Ravis. That's what he called himself the first time he took full control during the day. Call me Ravis, it means unraveling, he said, guiding my reflection's hand along the mirror. I didn't ask what that meant. I didn't want to know. The name stuck, felt too sharp in my mouth, like a blade made of vowels. But it was better than calling him you. This morning, I woke up with blood under my nails. Again, I hadn't blacked out this time. Not entirely. There were flashes, boots stomping through wet alleyways. Laughter that didn't come from me. A hand around someone's throat, squeezing until their lips turned pale. Not killing, just hurting, just enough to prove something. I washed my hands at the sink and didn't look in the mirror. That wasn't me, I said aloud. My voice didn't sound convinced. Ravis responded with a warm ripple through the mark on my chest. Like he was pleased. Like he was proud. He spoke only once that morning. Every act of strength you feared to take, I'll take it for you. You don't have to thank me. I screamed into my pillow. By noon, I was at the Academy's South Tower. I needed books, answers, something, anything that could tell me how to sever a soul contract. The library still smelled like candle smoke and dust. No one looked at me, or maybe they did and I just didn't care anymore. I found a seat behind a wall of ancient spellbooks. Opened one, then another. Symbols swam across the page, distorted. Some words made my head throb. After an hour, I found a passage in an old infernal law compendium. Certain demonic contracts, once bound by self-sacrifice and soul submission, may only be broken through one of three paths: equivalent divine intervention, mutual consent of both parties, or obliteration of the vessel's body. I laughed. It was a bitter, choking sound that turned a few heads. Consent, he'll never give that. I whispered, and I wasn't ready to die. So I ran. Not from the library. From myself. Down stairwells, through corridors, out onto the old stone courtyard. The cold air slapped my face. It didn't help. I leaned against the railing, gripping the stone until my knuckles turned white. And then he slipped through again. It wasn't full possession. Just his presence, pressing behind my thoughts. Why do you resist so hard, when you know how this ends? Ravis murmured. Get out of my head. I can't. You invited me in, Elias, and I made myself comfortable. He paused. Let the silence stretch. Then, quieter. You wanted power, and you got me. I bit down on the inside of my cheek. You think that makes this okay? No, he said. For once, he sounded sincere, and that terrified me more than anything else. Chapter 6. Your skin is mine to wear. It wasn't just nights anymore. He started walking around in me during the day. Not long stretches at first. Just moments. Seconds. A blink. A breath. A word said in a voice that wasn't mine. It was subtle enough that people didn't notice. Not really. But I felt it. I knew when my own lips didn't belong to me. And then, slowly, it got worse. The first time I lost a whole hour, I woke up in someone else's bed. It was a boy I vaguely recognized, Mateo, a student from my warding class. Kind, quiet, always gave me his notes when I missed a lecture. He was asleep, curled up with one hand resting on my bare stomach. I stared at the ceiling. My body ached in ways I didn't want to think about. When I stood, I saw it. Bruises across my hips, bites on my collarbone. A smear of blood on my thigh that wasn't mine. I didn't wake him. I didn't even dress. I just grabbed what I could and ran. Back in my room, I collapsed on the floor. The mark on my chest was throbbing again, warm and satisfied. "You're disgusting," I whispered. Ravis didn't answer, but I felt the echo of his smile. Smug, possessive. That night I confronted him. "I want my body back." He appeared in the mirror, fully formed this time, or as close as he ever got. A silhouette of shadow and skin, eyes like molten coal. "But I'm wearing it so well," he said. "You seduced someone. Using me." "I didn't seduce him, Elias. He wanted you. I just gave him the courage to act." "Isn't that what you wanted?" "No. I didn't ask for this." My voice broke. He tilted his head. "You asked for power. Power is taking what others won't. It's hunger without apology." I slammed my fist into the glass. It didn't shatter. It didn't even crack. The pain shot through my knuckles. "Stop using me." A pause. Then he stepped forward, his image towering over mine. "Make me." Couldn't. And we both knew it. The next day, Mateo found me in the corridor. Asked if I was okay. If we were okay. His voice was soft, worried. I couldn't look him in the eye. "I don't remember," I said. His expression crumbled. "You don't remember being with me?" "No," I whispered. He stepped back like I'd hit him. That night, I burned the warding circle into my skin with silver. It hurt. It bled. It didn't work. Ravis watched through my own reflection, humming softly. "My lovely vessel, I warned you. Power has its appetite," he said. I didn't respond. I just curled into the corner of the room, arms wrapped around myself, and wished my skin felt like mine again. Chapter 7. Let me out, or let me in. The first time I tried to trap him, I nearly killed myself. It was a cursed book I stole from the restricted section. No one noticed. I was invisible by then, a shadow limping through the academy's corridors. All anyone saw was the echo of a student who'd once had promise. I barely saw him either these days. Ravis. He didn't need to gloat anymore. He simply took. But I found the ritual. Blood binding. Inverse sigil. Soul fracture containment. Risk of death. Extremely high. I didn't care. I started the rite at sunset. Alone in the condemned dormitories, where the walls peeled like old skin and no one patrolled after dark. I drew the containment glyph on the floor in chalk and black salt. Lit the candles. Sliced open the palm of my hand and smeared my blood across the inner ring. Then I spoke his name. Not Ravis. The real one. The one etched into the contract in infernal script. I'd memorized it letter by letter, carved it into my thigh until it scarred. The moment I said it aloud, everything changed. The circle exploded with heat. The room filled with smoke. He didn't appear. He erupted, like being forced through a hole too small to hold him. He was still shaped like a man, but barely. Too tall, too thin, moving like he had too many joints. His eyes glowed like coals through fog. His mouth twisted into a grin I could feel in my bones. "Elias, is this an ambush?" "I'm flattered," he purred. "I'm binding you," I said, voice shaking. He looked down at the circle. Then he stepped out of it. I staggered back. "No, you can't. The sigils. Your blood isn't strong enough, your soul? Already mine. You're trying to cage the hand wearing the glove," he said, voice like velvet knives. He reached for me. I screamed. But he didn't hurt me. He touched me. Fingers to my cheek, light as a sigh. "You don't get it, do you? I don't want to break you," he whispered. "Then why?" "Because I want in." He pressed his forehead to mine. Our breaths merged. My chest ached like it was being pulled in two. "You keep resisting, but some part of you calls me back," he murmured. "Get out." "No, please." He tilted my face up. Couldn't look away. "You're the first vessel who ever made me want to stay." He vanished. The candles snuffed out. The chalk circle cracked. The scar on my thigh burned with new fire. Collapsed, shaking, bleeding, alone. But his voice stayed. Inside me, breathing with me. Chapter 8. I am becoming him. I stopped recognizing myself in mirrors. It wasn't just the dark circles under my eyes or the weight I'd lost or the strange silver tint starting to creep into my irises. It was how I stood, how I moved, how my mouth curled in amusement at things I used to fear. It was in my voice, too. Slightly deeper, steadier, too calm, like there was always someone else waiting just behind it. And it wasn't always Ravis. It was me, with him inside. I was starting to become something new. It began the day I returned to class. Professor Dernhall was lecturing on infernal contract law, and he brought up an example, hypothetical, he said, of a soul-bound mage who thought he could resist the influence of a major demon. He lasted 4 months. Then he burned his name out of every public record and walked into the underworld smiling. The professor said. I laughed. It slipped out before I could stop it. Sharp, cruel. Everyone stared. I lowered my head and said nothing. But inside, Ravis chuckled. You're learning, adapting, he whispered. After class, a student tried to talk to me. Grace Ormond. We'd partnered once for a conjuration exercise. She looked nervous now, clutching her books like armor. Elias, I heard some rumors that you've been doing unsanctioned rites. That you were possessed, I asked. Breaking the rules? Cursed? What else? Her mouth fell open. I didn't mean. I stepped closer. Too close. I saw the fear bloom in her eyes. Stay out of things that don't concern you, I said. My voice was cold, controlled. She backed away, quickly. I should have felt sick. Instead, I felt strong. And that scared me more than anything. Back in my dorm, I stared at my reflection until the glass blurred. I reached up and traced the edge of the mirror, then touched my lips. They smiled. I didn't ask you to take over, I muttered. You didn't stop me either, Ravis replied. You're changing me. No, you're changing. I'm just assisting, he said. I don't want this. Liar. I clenched my fists. The magic inside me hummed. Stronger than it had ever been. Sharper. Like my veins carried lightning instead of blood. The problem was I liked it. I liked what I was becoming. That night, I looked in the mirror again and smiled without flinching. Chapter 9, What Hurts Belongs to Me. I broke finally in the rain. It was after another failed containment ritual. My fourth. The chalk washed away before I finished the last sigil. The blood wouldn't stick. My hands wouldn't stop shaking. I stumbled outside, into the storm, soaked within seconds. The sky above the academy grounds cracked open, spilling cold light and thunder. I walked aimlessly, barefoot and half-drenched, until the courtyard blurred around me. No one stopped me. No one asked if I was okay. I wasn't. I ended up collapsed beneath the east archway. My hands were scraped, my lips numb, my throat raw from screaming spells that didn't answer anymore. Magic didn't bend for me like it used to. I wasn't sure if it was fear or fatigue or just the quiet, steady erosion of me. You always do this, push until you bleed, then break where I can't reach. Ravis whispered from somewhere deep inside. Shut up. My voice cracked. Why are you always trying to outrun what you asked for? I didn't ask for you. You summoned me. I didn't know what I was doing. He laughed softly, inside my skull. Not cruel this time. Almost sad. Neither did I. I pressed my forehead to the stone wall and let myself cry. There was no one there to see it. Just me. And him. Always him. You ruined my life. I know. You used me. I did. Why? He didn't answer right away. Then, because you were beautiful when you broke. And because I didn't understand what softness was. Not until I touched your pain. The rain hit harder, soaking through every layer. But I didn't move. You're a monster, I whispered. Yes. Silence. Then I felt it. His presence surging closer. Not to possess, but to shelter. He didn't take my body. He didn't force a smile. He just settled. like a cloak of warmth beneath my skin. "You're hurting and it's mine," he murmured. I didn't know what to say. For the first time since this began, he didn't feel like a fire invading me. He felt like hands catching me as I fell. I closed my eyes and let him hold the pain. Chapter 10. The night I let him stay. It wasn't surrender. Not exactly. But that night I didn't resist. After the rain, I returned to my dorm and stripped out of my soaked clothes. I didn't bother drying my hair. I sat in bed wrapped in a blanket, knees to my chest, staring at the flickering rune I'd carved above the door. It was supposed to be a ward. It barely glowed anymore. I couldn't tell if that was his doing or mine. I wasn't afraid of him, not in the way I had been. But I wasn't safe either. I existed somewhere in the middle, somewhere quiet and strange and empty. "Are you going to come out? Or do I have to beg again?" I asked the silence. He didn't answer right away. Then the mirror darkened. Smoke coiled inside the glass like breath on cold glass. And slowly, Ravis emerged. This time he looked less like a demon and more like someone I could imagine knowing. Tall, yes. Pale. I still wrong. But softer. His mouth wasn't curled in mockery. His voice wasn't poison. "I'm here," he said. I watched him. My heart didn't race this time. My breath didn't hitch. "You didn't take control today." "No." "Why?" "Because I wanted to see what you'd do on your own." And I was proud. The words hit me in a place I hadn't let anyone touch in years. I looked down, throat tight. "I'm tired, Ravis. I know. You could have destroyed me. I was trying to. And now, I'm trying not to." I stood and walked to the mirror. I pressed my fingers to the surface. It was cold like always. His fingers met mine from the other side. "Why me?" I asked. His answer came low, quiet, and real. "Because your soul didn't flinch. Not when you bled for power. Not when you hated me. Not even now. You don't look away." I leaned my forehead against the glass. Closed my eyes. "Do you want in?" I asked. "Yes." "Then ask." He was silent for a long time. Then, "May I come in, Elias?" I nodded. The mark on my chest flared. Not burning this time, not sharp. Just warm, like a memory of touch. And then he was inside me. But not like before. Not a theft. Not a hijacking. Presence. A coiling heat through my limbs. A weight behind my ribs. I could still feel myself. My thoughts. My will. And his woven gently through mine. We walked together, barefoot, out into the cold hallway. Past rooms of sleeping students. Through the academy gates. Down the old path to the glade. The realm opened before us. Not hell. Not exactly. A threshold. A space between. He showed me things. Wings he used to have. Burned away long ago. A field of bones where he buried his failures. His real face. Fractured, incomplete, beautiful in a way that had nothing to do with perfection. "You envy me?" I whispered. "Yes," he said. And in that moment I didn't hate him. I didn't fear him. I knew him. And I let him stay. Chapter 11. I didn't want to love you. We didn't talk about that night. Not in words. The next day, I woke up with Ravis still humming softly in the back of my mind. Like static. Like wind brushing chimes. For once, he wasn't whispering commands or indulgences or wicked little observations. He was present. I stood in front of the mirror, shirtless, and stared at the mark over my heart. It had changed again, expanded slightly. The edges now curled into something almost floral. Not a wound, not quite a sigil. More like a claim softened into a bond. I didn't touch it. I didn't need to. I tried to go back to routine. Attending lectures. Brewing in the alchemy labs. Keeping my head down. Ravis didn't interfere, not directly. But I could feel his opinions leaking into me. Little impulses. A glance held too long. A smile that came a beat too late. It scared me how much of him I understood now. And then it happened. I was walking past the divination atrium when I saw Ashvin. Alive. Bruised but whole. Laughing with his friends. His voice still sharp. His presence still venomous. and I froze. Ravis stirred. Do you want me to finish what we started? No, I said immediately, but my heart was racing. My fists clenched. Ashvin turned and met my eyes, and for the first time he looked afraid. He turned away. That should have satisfied me. Didn't. That night, I sat on my bed with a glass of cheap wine and whispered, I think I hate you. Ravis didn't answer. I finished the glass. Let the burn distract me. I think I'm starting to feel something else, and I don't know what to do with that. Still no answer. I looked at the mirror. He wasn't in it. Just me. Pale. Tired. Eyes silvered. I looked like someone who belonged to something. Or someone. I didn't want to love you. I didn't come to you for this. I came for power, I said. Finally, his voice, barely a whisper. I didn't want to love you either. Silence. Then, almost shy, but I do. The glass in my hand cracked. I set it down before it shattered completely. Then leave me, let me be free. If any part of this is love, let me go, I said. He hesitated. I felt it, like a pulse held too long. I can't, because love doesn't mean absence. It means choosing to stay. He said, I didn't choose this. You're choosing now. And the worst part was he was right, because that night when I dreamed, I didn't fight him. I leaned into his touch, and I kissed him first. Chapter 12, he left, and the world burned. I didn't know he was gone until the silence became unbearable. Took a full day for me to notice. No whispers, no echoes in the back of my skull. No coiling presence brushing against my lungs when I breathed. I looked in every mirror I passed, half expecting him to appear in the glass, smug and glowing. Nothing. The mark on my chest had faded to a dull gray. Not gone, but dormant. I didn't know what to do. I should have been relieved. I wasn't. The first night without him, I stayed awake until dawn. Not out of fear, out of emptiness. My magic flickered like a dying candle. I couldn't hold a spell longer than a minute. I stumbled through incantations I used to know by heart. Without him, I felt small again. Powerless. I tried to retrace the dream, his face, that last kiss. Was it goodbye? A trick? A final cruelty dressed in warmth? I didn't know. 3 days passed. I skipped classes, ignored messages, walked the halls like a ghost. People stopped avoiding me. Some even smiled, asked if I was okay. I smiled back. Then I went home and tore the sheets off the mirror. Nothing. Just my reflection. He was gone. The ache in my chest grew until it became unbearable. And that's when they came for me. A warlock from the upper circle, Caspian. I recognized him from the academy board. Clean robes, cold eyes, 2 apprentices at his side. He cornered me near the south wing, his voice clipped. Elias Vale, we've received reports. Blood summoning, demon binding, anomalous activity. You're being summoned to tribunal. I blinked at him. Now? He narrowed his eyes. Now? I didn't fight. They dragged me into the center hall. Marble and runes. The old sanctum, lit by golden flame. Too bright, too pure. I stood before the 7 and felt like a shadow that had overstayed its welcome. They asked questions. I answered, vaguely, carefully. Then Caspian said, do you deny harboring a demon within your soul? I looked up at him, at all of them, and I realized I didn't know how to say no. Because he had lived there. He still did somewhere. I opened my mouth, and that's when the walls shook. A pulse ripped through the chamber. Every candle blew out. The marble cracked, and from the shadows behind me, a voice roared. He is mine. Ravis didn't appear in glass this time. He arrived. The air caught fire. The ceiling bled ash. Screams echoed down the hall as one of the apprentices caught fire from the inside. Caspian shouted a shield spell. It shattered like glass. I dropped to my knees, clutching my chest as the mark burned back to life. A flame reignited. Hot. Blinding. He surged into me. Not gentle. Not cruel. Desperate. His voice poured through my thoughts. I left. I tried. And you were dying without me. You didn't come back for me, you came back to burn them. I whispered. Because they threatened what's mine. I'm not yours. But even as I said it, I reached for him. I let him in. The seven scattered. The sanctum fell. And in the ruins I stood upright again. Heart beating like a war drum. Alive. Whole. With him. Chapter 13. This body, this soul, this love. The sanctum smoldered for hours. I stood at the edge of the rubble. The heat brushing my skin. Smoke curling into my lungs. The sky above the academy had turned black. No stars. No moon. Just ash drifting like snow. Ravis stood with me. Half-formed, shadow-wrapped, his outline flickering at the edge of my vision. He hadn't spoken since we left the ruins. Neither had I. There was nothing left to say to the world we'd destroyed. But there was something I needed to say to him. You didn't have to come back. I did. Why? Because I was wrong. I turned to face him. This time he didn't hide behind mirrors or voices or stolen flesh. He stood before me, wearing a body that pulsed with fractured light and scars like constellations. I thought I only wanted power, yours, your body, your magic. But then I tasted your pain, and it undid me. Ravis said. I stepped closer. I don't know if I love you. You do, arrogant bastard. But he said it gently. I reached for him. My hands slid through smoke, then met something solid beneath. His chest, his heartbeat. I felt it. Real. Shaking. I want to be whole again, I whispered. Then let me in. Not just to possess. Not to control. Let me share. I nodded. The mark on my chest flared, brighter than ever. I didn't resist it. I welcomed him, and he didn't consume me. We merged. Two minds. Two wills. Two broken things trying to hold the same body, not as thief and victim, but as something new. It hurt. But it was the kind of hurt that came with healing. Memories blurred. Magic spun wild in our veins. Light and shadow braided together, neither one fully winning. We collapsed together to the earth, breathing as one. When I opened my eyes again, I saw through our gaze. And he was still with me, no longer a voice. Partner. You stayed, I said aloud. I chose to. I touched the ground. Bone. The remnants of what tried to kill me, what tried to keep us apart. I smiled. We start over, I said. Yes, together. Ravis replied, soft as dusk. Chapter 14. Bound to you by choice. We left the academy behind. Not in fire. Not in shame. Just silence. No one followed us. No one stopped us. Maybe they thought I died in the collapse. Maybe they were too afraid to find out. Either way, I didn't look back. The world outside was wider than I remembered. Brighter. It smelled like earth and rain and something that felt like beginning. We found a house by the edge of a ruined forest. Stone and moss, half swallowed by roots, but whole enough to hold us. We cleaned it together, rebuilt what had rotted, let vines curl through the windows where the light could reach. For the first time, I built something with someone. Even if that someone still lived inside my skin. Even if he was my skin. Days blurred. Sometimes Ravis moved us. Sometimes I did. We didn't fight for control anymore. We passed it gently, like breath between mouths. He made tea one morning. Why do you even want tea? I asked. I saw it in your memories. You drink it when you're calm. I wanted to feel that. He said. I kissed him for it. That night, lying beneath sheets that still smelled faintly of herbs and ash, I said, You changed. No, I am changing, he murmured. Do you still want my body? He didn't answer right away. Then, yes, but now I want your permission. I reached for him in the dark. Then take it. He did slowly, reverently, every motion soft, every breath shared. There was no force, no hunger, only a quiet kind of worship. After he curled around me not like a cage, like warmth. And then, in the quiet that followed, he said, I want to give you something. He showed me his true name. Not the one on the contract. Not the one used to bind or summon. The one he had before he fell. He whispered it into the hollow of my throat, where no one else would ever hear it. My heart nearly stopped. You know what that means, I said. I know, he replied. It meant I could destroy him now. Unmake him. Command him. It meant trust. It meant surrender. It meant love. I kissed his jaw, his chest, the old scars that still glowed faintly with infernal light. I won't use it, I whispered. I know. The mark over my heart flared one final time. And this time it didn't hurt. Chapter 15. The Body We Share. It's strange how quiet life becomes when no one's chasing you. No tribunal. No rituals. No hunger threading beneath the skin like wire. Just us. Sometimes I wake up before the sun. I sit by the open window and watch the morning mist drift over the forest. Birds sing. The wind moves through the tall grass like fingers brushing silk. And he's there. Always. Not looming. Not whispering. Just breathing with me. We don't speak aloud much anymore. We don't have to. When I pick up a book, I feel his curiosity flicker with mine. When I run my hands over old carvings in the stone walls of the house, I feel his wonder pressing against the inside of my chest. When I kneel to plant herbs in the dirt, he hums quietly through my ribs. We live slow, soft. We argue over music. We try recipes from torn cookbooks. We learn the names of the birds. Some nights we lie in bed tangled in blankets, skin to skin. He moves through me not to take, but to touch, to be touched, to belong. I don't think I was ever meant to exist this way, he whispered once, his voice caught in the space between breath and dream. And now? I asked. He didn't reply in words. He just curled closer. I started carving again. Small things, talismans of protection, little animals. One day I carved him. A tiny figure of wood with horn-shaped curls and eyes too big. I left it on the nightstand. When I woke, it was gone. In its place, a single silver ring, shaped like a flame, still warm to the touch. He doesn't say I love you. He shows it. In the way he steadies my hands when I doubt myself. In how he hums lullabies from memories I've never lived. In the silence he keeps when I need space. In how, when I'm hurting, he never takes control, he only stays. We're not perfect, but we're not broken either. We are two things, fused by pain, tempered by fire, held together by choice. And every day we stay. This body is mine, but I gave it to him. This soul is mine, but he guards it now. And this love, dark, twisted, wrong in every sacred text, is ours. And I would choose it again, every time.